Tension was high as Tank Davis and Lamont Roach, two of boxing's most formidable opponents, squared off at an airport, setting the stage for what is sure to be an intense bout. It wasn't just a random encounter. For weeks, the resentment had been building, with Roach using abrasive language to test the waters before their eagerly anticipated altercation. But nobody had foreseen the ensuing altercation. Witnesses describe a furious altercation that swiftly got out of hand, forcing security to intervene and separate the two combatants. Roach was fired up, never one to back down. He claimed that you heard him, but that's not true. With a bold and confident declaration, Roach said, "He was afraid to even enter the ring with me. It might have eclipsed anything that came after. It might have been the town's chatter." However, Davis, who has always been a showman, quickly diffused the tension by releasing a video that demonstrated his incredible hand speed. This remarkable exhibition made the argument about skill rather than emotion. Fans were in awe at Davis's accuracy and speed, which appear to have increased to an even greater degree than before, as the brief 13-second film went viral on social media. It was obvious that Davis was developing into an even more formidable fighter in addition to defending his title. He had a keen focus and wasn't going to let anything or anyone to divert him from his objective. Davis was a guy on a mission and wasn't going to let the clamor bother him as his title defense against Lamont Roach on March 1st approached. Davis's development as a combatant had been nothing short of remarkable. His career trajectory had taken off after he was promoted to full WBA world title status in November 2023. His first championship defense, a vicious knockout of Frank Martin in the 8th round, cemented his status in the sport and left both fans and commentators in awe of his technical development. Long renowned for his ability to knock opponents out, he was now a more sophisticated and strategic boxer. His years of experience now weighed heavily on every jab, hook, and uppercut he delivered, making him a very dangerous champion. Davis was making every effort to get ready for his upcoming second title defense against Roach. Every training session appeared to be an exercise in accuracy, with each blow being delivered with intention. It was no coincidence that he was moving so fast in his most recent training video. Hours spent in the gym, challenging himself to improve his innate speed and athleticism, were the immediate cause. He wasn't attempting to impress his supporters or show off. It was a calculated tactical move meant to offset Roach's technical mastery. Lamont Roach, the WBA super featherweight champion, had proven himself worthy of the championship with a string of strong performances. He had caught the attention of serious boxing enthusiasts after defeating Hector Luis Garcia in November 2023 and retaining the title against Fergal MCC in June. But Roach was no stranger to hardship. He had risen through the ranks as a fighter with a strong technical background, consistently demonstrating a dedication to accuracy and well-thought-out attacks. The challenge that lay ahead for Roach was one of danger and opportunity. It was no minor accomplishment to move up to compete for a world title in a second division, but Roach saw it as an opportunity to establish himself as one of boxing's top fighters. He had been diligently preparing since he knew the battle against Davis would be challenging. The two fights between Davis and Roach in the amateurs were intense contests of will and cunning. Despite the fact that Davis had prevailed in the more recent fights, Roach was accustomed to defeat and wasn't going to allow their previous meetings to determine how this fight turned out. The stakes were high for Roach as he got ready for his rematch with Davis. Their rivalry was a conflict of styles and ideas rather than merely championships and honors. Roach had direct knowledge of Davis's strength and was aware of the degree of accuracy and talent that Davis had accumulated over the years. He had observed how Davis moved, and his camp had put in countless hours to come up with ways to counteract Davis's tremendous strength and speed. Knowing that every second of this fight would be a struggle for both mental and physical toughness, Roach was resolved to rise to the challenge. More than just a fight, the next trilogy bout, scheduled for March, was a test of the hearts and minds of two fighters. The two combatants' intense rivalry was motivated by an underlying respect for the sport despite all of their back and forth. During a recent news conference, Davis made it apparent that he was fighting for more than just titles. He was fighting for his legacy, his peers' respect, and the people who had stood with him along the way. He was a man with a purpose, and it was not limited to boxing. Davis's dedication to boxing was all the more remarkable given that he had been putting a lot of effort into securing his financial future and growing his real estate business outside of the ring. The excitement was heightened by his recent remarks that he might retire in 2025 after only 3 fights. Would fans see him in the ring for the final time this year? As his battle with Roach approached, that question hung heavy in the air. Davis maintained his concentration in spite of all the noise. His ability to fight with emotion had always been appreciated by fans, and now that feeling had crept into his training. His lightning-fast hand quickness was impressive in a recent video. Within seconds, Davis made it abundantly evident to Roach, and the boxing community at large, just how dangerous he had become. It was about execution, not simply about power. There was minimal margin for error because his punches were quick and precise. He had been encouraged to push the boundaries of his athleticism by his coach, Patrice Harris, and it was evident that the outcomes were speaking for themselves. The general view among fans who flocked to social media to talk about his quick development was that Davis was a different kind of warrior. He had never been quicker, sharper, or more concentrated. Roach, who never backs down, was getting ready for the battle of his life in the meantime. It was a risky move to move up in weight, but it was one that demonstrated his confidence in his own skills. After overcoming Garcia and keeping his title, he had proven himself worthy of being considered among the best, and now he was prepared to face Davis. The bout between the two was a struggle of wills as much as physical prowess, with both competitors eager to establish their legacy. Although Roach was a strong opponent due to his experience as a technician, their rivalry had taken on a new dimension as a result of Davis's development as a fighter. Davis had developed into a force of nature, able to overpower opponents with pure speed and strength, in contrast to Roach, whose technique was based on patience and accuracy. His recent training video only served to highlight his progress. It was evident that Davis had thoroughly researched the sport, becoming into not only a champion but also a self-taught technician. The intensity increased and the anticipation reached a fever pitch as the fight got closer. There was considerably more to the impending fight than merely defending his title. It was an opportunity for Davis to cement his legacy. Roach saw it as a chance to demonstrate that, even in a new weight class, he could compete with the best. Years of preparation had gone into the bout, which would put the fighter's will and resolve to the test. Fans excitedly anticipated what would happen when two of boxing's biggest stars faced off as the battle drew near. The drama between the two men had only gotten more intense in the days before the fight. For his part, Roach had shared statements on social media that appeared to be intended to agitate Davis, to which Davis responded with scathing remarks of his own. Both men were obviously focused on the actual fight, even with the public teasing. Although Davis was used to being the center of attention, he started to display a more vulnerable side as the fight day approached. In a rare admission, he said he was becoming sick of being in the spotlight and wanted to let his performance in the ring do the talking. He also made it apparent that his priorities were his family, his health, and his future outside of the ring, regardless of the commotion around him. Roach, however, remained unwavering. Even though he was aware that the battle would be difficult, he was resolved to give his preparations his all. His statement was straightforward but profound. "I fight for honor, for respect, and for my people." The comment struck a deep chord and got to the core of why Roach and other boxers do what they do. For him, boxing was more than simply a sport, it was a way of life. The excitement only increased as March 1st drew closer. While the boxers themselves prepared for the final test, fans excitedly argued over who would win. It was an opportunity for Davis to demonstrate that he was not only a champion but also a fighter in his prime who was developing into something even better. Roach saw it as an opportunity to establish himself as one of the greatest in the sport and demonstrate that he could compete with the best and win. The scene was prepared. It would be a battle for legacy, a conflict of styles, and a meeting of the minds. It would be more than simply a bout when the bell rang on March 1st, it would be a turning point in both combatants' careers.